Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. My name is Jason Weiss, and you are on the Ask Jason Weiss Show with me, your host, Jason Weiss. Because everybody knows that I am an attorney, I am a consultant, and I am a coach, I always put my disclaimer out there that nothing discussed today should constitute legal advice. Should you seek legal, financial, or any other type of advice, consult an attorney directly. Nothing here is protected by the attorney-client privilege. And I just want to make everybody aware of that. So today, have a new guest, new topic, and it's going to be a very interesting. Yes, some of it is going to be centralized in the Boca Business realm, but this will apply across the entire world. So I want to introduce Papa Sturms, who I call Mark, because that's the name that he was given. So I have my guest Mark with me today, and he said I can call him anything I want, except just make sure to call him. So I am calling him. So hello, Mark. How are you?
Hello, Jason. Honored to be on the show with you. It's always a pleasure to see your smiling face. You're just like so very inviting just to talk to. So thank you for having me on.
No problem. And you do know I'm not paying you to be on the show. So, you don't have to keep.
Oh, you're not? Oh, I'm out of here then.
Exactly. So Mark is brand new to podcasts. He's never done one in his entire life. And this is his first time not. What Mark does is he talks about Boca Business with Papa Sturms, aka Mark, and he has his a radio show and a podcast that he puts out. And I like to think of Mark as the franchise guy. So what does that mean? Well, I'm going to let Mark tell a little bit about what it means when I call him the franchise guy. So Mark, take it away.
So the franchise guy, and trust me, I've been called a lot worse than that.
Oh, I'm sure by the time the show's over, I'm going to call you worse. But for now,
yeah, please do. I invited in.
Franchise guy.
First of all, this is a lot of fun. But can I get a swig of that Pellegrino? I'm kind of thirsty. Can you? All right.
There you go.
Thank you. All right. So I number of years ago, about 2006. I won't go back to my birth. I'll go to 2006. I happened to walk into this business. I was looking for a massage and saw the sign said $39 massage, and I'm kind of a massage whore. And I went in and it was massage envy. And the minute I walked in there, I was in real estate at the time, commercial and residential. And I thought to myself, the minute I walked in, I'm buying one of these. I loved the concept. I was never anything to do with a franchise or anything like that. Just so happens I was able to buy the one that I was in. It was very successful. I ended up buying 4 more over the years. And then I got involved with another business called European Wax Center, where I was a regional developer, which meant I was allowed to sell the state of Florida. And then got involved in Amazing Lash Studio. And I've always been kind of looking, for something that I maybe could franchise myself. And recently got involved in the podcast business, Podcast Junkies. Did I go too long on that answer?
No. So,
okay.
Okay. I know what massage envy is. I've heard of it. I've heard of European Wax. I've heard of that. Podcast Junkies, I've heard of because I had an opportunity to go check it out. But for those viewers that listen to the show and watch the show and they're like, Podcast Junkies, what's that all about? Take it away. What is Podcast Junkies?
Thank you for the question. What Podcast Junkies is we're a membership-based podcast business. We're in a retail store in East Boca, across from Chops Lobster Bar or Lemongrass restaurant. And what it is we produce, host, distribute podcasts for people. And the way the business model works is we can only have 80 podcasts, 80 members, if you will, in total in the studio. That's all we could sell. So we're somewhat selective. We want people to apply. And for, it's a monthly amount. And we provide all types of services. Like you have a live producer that could either be part of of your podcast or just producing. We provide edited video clips for your social media, and I think everybody. It's funny because we were recently at a franchise expo, and people came up to us, and the first question I asked everybody is, if you were to do a podcast, what would you do a podcast on? And every single person had an answer. And it's funny, it was some were business, some were personal, but everybody has a podcast in them. And we've just created this avenue, if you will. Why do people say "if you will" after a sentence?
I don't know.
If you will, all right?
We've
created it. What?
No, I'm Jason. I'm not Will. I can be if you Jason, but
Can I call you Bill?
Sure. I won't answer because
You're Bill.
I send bills. I don't get called bills. So.
I like it. And we're pretty successful. We've been open a few months, and the memberships are selling pretty nicely.
So I happened to be in the studio one time. I was a guest on your show. It was very cool. It was Boca Business with Papa Sturms, and I love that. And then I remember the show before us. It was some, I guess, gambling tips, and they were going over the spreads in football, and I was sitting there taking feverish notes, and decided that I wasn't going to follow any of their betting, but I did listen to their recommendations, and I probably would have done decent if I would have thrown a couple dollars on. So
it's funny because I listened to their show. It's a really interesting show, and they're really nice guys. Again, the beauty to it is we can kind of pick and choose who does the podcast in our studio. And I'm like, I'm a sports nut, or I'm a nut in general, but it was amazing, like how accurate these guys are,
Yeah. And it was pretty good because, they were basically saying for those degenerate gamblers out there, baseball, it was like the all-star break time. And I think they were talking about different tennis matches that they were going to be betting on, and different, it was, look, you could bet on anything these days. How many times am I going to drink my Pellegrino water? 7 under over. You can bet on that. Or if I'm going to get you to laugh or to cry on the show, or how many times Daniel Jones is going to get sacked in tonight's game. So you could bet on anything, and it's pretty cool.
What's funny about that is, so my fiance has a junior in high school.
Wait. She said yes.
She said, "Well, you know what? I'm going on I'm going to go on the odds, and the over under is at 70% at this point." Okay.
Good.
She said a definite maybe. Definite maybe.
Hey,
Yeah. But when they say, "Can I get back to you?" I take that as a yes.
Right. Well, she wanted to take the ring and get it appraised to make sure that.
Right. I mean, she had the loop with her, and no, but her son's on the swim team. And it's exciting when he's swimming and everything, but these swim meets last about 2 hours, 4:30 in the afternoon, and when you're facing the west and the sun's above you, it could be brutal. So we literally made up this pretty much game where we bet on every single race, like on these which kind of like we kind of realized we had to contain ourselves. Because we were rooting for these strange kids, we're like, "Come on, Billy, go, move your ass, go." And the mother would look at us like, "What's going on here?" This day and age, you got to be careful with that.
Yeah. It was, you got to be careful with that. The standard bet in my house growing up was always 5 M&Ms. And if we wanted to really go crazy, it would be 5 peanut M&Ms. So I was not brought up in a house where we bet on things or gambled on things and done all of that. So, and then I met my wife, and one of the first trips we ever took was to a casino in Aruba. And, I learned about betting and gambling, and, thank God I don't have any money to gamble.
There you go.
That's a good thing.
It's funny because when my son was very little, I'm telling you, maybe 6 or 7 years old, I'm a huge Dolphin fan, NFL, college, and everything. So to kind of get him into it and get him more excited, we literally every week, and we did it for years and years and years. Maybe we stopped 2 years ago. He's 31 years old. We bet on $1 on every football game. We didn't bet on the Dolphins because we both like the Dolphins. And we bet. And I remember when Zach was a little kid, like my ex-wife, his mom, who I get along with very well, she goes, "Great job, Mark, getting Zach into gambling. What, cocaine next?" Or, but
what is that? The gambling is the gateway to, cocaine. All right.
I guess, I don't know.
I've heard marijuana was, and then I heard, whatever. So I don't know. I mean, look, I think I gamble every time I get into a car in South Florida. That's
a million%. 1,000,000%. Yeah.
Think about Uber. Don't you think you're gambling every time you get into an Uber? You get into the car and it kind of smells funky, and all of a sudden the guy locks the door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I am one of those people that I do check the license plate and make sure he knows my name, and I ask his name because you don't know.
Yeah. Take a picture.
Okay. So I have a question for you. Why is it that 72%? Okay, and this comes from MA research. I'll explain what MA research is in a second. Okay, but MA research has shown that 72% of Uber drivers, their cars have the low tire pressure light on. Well, why is that?
I like that.
I don't know. Stop! Just put some air in your tire.
Yeah,
I'm getting a little nervous here. How low is that? Can we check this out?
We've been renting cars a lot because we're on that whole college lacrosse tour thing, and we're going to camps and we're going whatever, and they're like, "Oh, will you take such and such car?" And we're like, "Sure." We don't care the car, but we walk around and we look at all the tires, and I can't tell you the last time I took the first car offered to me, because go and I look and it's like, these tires are bald. Oh, the car only has 57,000 miles on it. Well, you'd think you'd get a new pair of tires,
Yeah, yeah, and it's something I've actually learned was I won't take a car that doesn't have CarPlay, Apple CarPlay.
Yes.
To me, like if I'm traveling into a city, I don't know, I don't know what people did before that,
Yep.
Yeah.
They had old-fashioned maps. They're probably still in the glove compartment of some of those rental cars.
Right. Exactly. Remember maps?
The newest thing is, I now have the I guess it's like the C to Fire, because the last time I rented a car and it was a Volkswagen, it didn't have a USB port.
Really?
It only had the C. So I actually wound up running into the Apple store when we were there, and I bought one. And I actually bought two. I keep one in my backpack at all times because I travel with that everywhere I go. And I use the other one here at home as a backup. So,
right.
I mean, some of the things, that you don't even think about. I got a travel pack, put it in, and I've got 3 different types of headphones, my wireless headphones, chargers, batteries.
Right. And if you're flying too, you got to have the ones that plug in too, besides the wireless ones and all that. It's a whole new way of traveling and everything.
And what would we do without it? I mean, I honestly, I'll lose, battery. I lose. It's just crazy. I mean, I'm all over the place these days. I'm actually getting on a plane in 48 hours. I'll be in the air 48 hours from now. So
I got to ask, where are you going?
We are going to Pennsylvania this time.
Oh, okay. So you're going to colleges up there?
Yep. Going to check out a quick school up there, and we'll be flying back the next day. So it's fun stuff. What
school are you checking out?
Now we're going to keep under wraps for now.
You can keep that under wraps?
Yep.
Okay. But you do take, it's funny because it was one of my most wonderful experiences was taking my son to, visiting colleges and everything. As a matter of fact, afterwards, I ended up taking my nephew too, because I just, it's just, them just seeing what makes them excited or not, or what they like, or this or that. And I love doing it. But I always wondered one thing, okay, was, when Jason's like, "Oh crap, what the hell's he gonna say?"
Yeah, I'm getting ready to hit the censor button. So let's go.
Yeah, be ready with the censor.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Is it? I still haven't told you what MA research is.
Exactly.
So you might want to get the censor button ready for that one. But I always wondered, so they give you the tour to the school, right? They do the walking tour, and the guy, and always at the end of the tour guide's always walking backwards and everything, right? But I'm like, these guys are walking all day. It's a big school. It's the one use that they could actually use a Segway for, right? Why don't these guys and actually when my son ended up going to College of Charleston, and I had a couple of Segways, and I offered to donate it to them, for the tours, but I guess there's some liability issues or something.
Yeah,
you know how those attorneys are.
Yeah, we have the scooters. We got 2 of those. The kids, they'll go and cruise around the neighborhood and do all of that. But yeah, and the college tours, they've been great. We look at it a little bit differently because my son is trying to play Division I lacrosse. So we're not only are we checking out the schools, but the lacrosse programs and the teams. And, now it's after September 1, so we can talk to the coaches. And oh my God, is this recruiting process a full-time job and a half? And you're watching every day. Oh my God, 4 more kids. And so my son plays on a team. They're called Big 4 Triple H. They have 9 college commits already. Official.
Wow.
Yeah. They're the leading team for 2025 lacrosse, where there's one team with 8 and everybody else has 3, 4. So 9 boys, and they're going to substantial schools, the Dukes and the Harvards and the Yales and I think Princeton. I mean, pretty significant stuff.
And is that mainly via lacrosse or
all nine kids on the team are all lacrosse, and they're all going. I mean, it is wow.
That's amazing.
It's impressive. It's very impressive. It's a great organization, great team, great sport. And my son, he's speaking to some college coaches. He's doing really well. He's proud of him. The effort he's putting in and all the hard work it's paying off.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you threw that softball. MA research.
So in the podcast junkies, we kind of pick and choose who we want. So it's not like a hard sell. But Massage Envy, you got to have, to break even, you got to have about 1,200 members, and to make good money, you want about 2,000 members in each clinic, So I developed, I worked with this whole marketing team, and I developed this whole sales approach, this whole, audio visual presentation and a whole song and dance routine. And then I guess some people got wind of it, that I had done it, because I did it once at a franchise conference, a massage franchise conference. And so I started getting all these requests around the country for me to do this presentation, like in Des Moines, Iowa, or whatever, or Scranton, Pennsylvania, for their massage envy, for their staff. So I had a deal with them is just pay for my hotel, for 2 or 3 days, and pay for my airfare, and I'll go out and I'll teach your staff. And I would always, and I went out with an assistant, and my assistant always knew, but no one ever asked. I always would throw out these statistics. Like whenever I just wanted to, I would just throw out a statistic. 92% of the time, if you actually assume the sale, they will agree, or if you say what credit card, if you another MA stat is, you don't ask an open-ended question, just say what credit card do you want to put that on. That works 46% of the time better than if you don't. Okay. You see where I'm going here? So, and I would say, according to MA research, right? Well, you know what MA research is, right?
Marketing assistant.
Mark's ass.
Mark's ass.
Mark's ass. Yeah.
Or MOs, Mark's own.
Right. And no one ever asked. No one ever challenged me on MA research.
I think I'm going to start doing that, but I'm going to call it MU research, and people are going to be like, "Moo research." Yeah. Made up research, right? You're a little bit, you're a bit cleaner than I am. You're a clean kind of guy. Got to keep it PG. PG-13 is getting there a little bit. So here's what we're gonna do. I have some MU research that says that having a commercial break right in the middle of the show is great. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I am here with Papa Sturm, and we are talking about the Boca Business, and we're going to talk about podcast junkies, JUNKEEZ.com. And Mark and I are going to be back in about 2 minutes. Commercial break. Mark, don't get up, don't walk around, because your camera will be on, but your mic will be off. Cece, take it away.
Well, I'm still dancing to the music. I like the music.
We are back. I am Jason Weiss. You are at the Ask Jason Weiss show with me, your host, the attorney, the coach, the collaborator, the consultant, whatever you want to call me today, I will take. I do need to be careful because I have Mark on the show and he's going to call me lots of things. And this is a PG show. Again, although I am an attorney, nothing today is legal advice. Should you seek legal or financial advice, consult an attorney directly. We have no attorney-client privilege. So going back, we have Mark with us today, and he talked about some of the franchises. Mark, you want to talk a little bit about franchising in general? Do you want to talk about more of the podcast junkies? What you get and where you go and all of that, or do you want to talk about Seinfeld, where we could do the rest of the show about absolutely nothing and just talk?
Can I answer that question? Yes.
Sure.
We'll do it all.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So we'll talk about.
You talked about how you went into Massage Envy. You loved the place. Like what all of a sudden just like clicked in your head to say, I have to have one of these? Like, what was it? Other than I'm sure there were, beautiful people roaming around and they were giving you cucumber water and, you've got great hair. So they complimented you on that. But I mean, all kidding aside, what is the great hair is not a joke. That's the truth. But all kidding aside, like what made you say like, I need a franchise? Because you were already in real estate. You were already busy. You were already doing well. And then it just like what? Something clicked and be like, I need one of these?
Jason, what it was is I had, my son was going to school in Davie and I had to pick him up from school. And take him to Office Depot to buy some supplies, and then take him back to school to do some project with a couple of his fellow students. And I had like 2.5 hours to kill. So when we got to Office Depot, right next door to Office Depot, it said $39 massage. Now I've been getting massages probably since I was 6 years old. I remember going to a resort with my parents in the Pocono Mountains. And I was a little kid and my dad got a massage and he gave me like the last 10 minutes of his massage. And I'm like, I loved it. That's all I ever wanted was a massage. And so my whole life, even when I was in school, I would go to massage schools, just to continue getting massages. So I walked into Massage Envy and I saw the business model and I thought that was brilliant. I wasn't looking for a franchise. My real estate business was doing very well. And I walked in there and I'm like, I really didn't really even have the money at the time, but I knew I was going to buy one. I just love the model. Yeah.
And it's interesting. There were so many phenomenal parts that if you just picked it apart, I mean, it would be like massages or something you've been going, with and 10, 15, 20 years at that point in time. And it was comfortable. It was something you knew. You liked the business model. You liked how it was. I'm sure it was nice and clean. So it was something that you knew. So basically what I'm hearing to all the listeners that are kind of scratching their head, like, where do I go next professionally? Find something you know and love. Find something that makes you happy. But on the flip side, now that you have Massage Envies, do you still go for a massage regularly or did you give that up?
Every single week. And it's funny because when I sold out a lot of my Massage Envies and I only own a portion of 3 of them. But there was a time when I was running 5 Massage Envies, and sometimes people don't realize this is before you can come work in any of our clinics, they have to give you what's called the practice massage. And there were some times where I was getting 2-3 massages a day sometimes because especially when we'd open up a new clinic, you had to staff it and you had to get these practice massages. So
I'm guessing your love for the massage and all of that didn't decrease, because I know like my wife is a phenomenal baker. And before we had kids, or even right after my son was born, and she was trying to earn a little bit of extra income, she was baking cakes and cookies and cake pops and all that kind of stuff. And she turned to me after like a big batch and got it all done, and she was so happy. And she's like, "Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore." I'm like, "Why?" She goes, "I lost the love for it. Like, now that I need to do it to earn money and to meet other people's criterias, and I was on a timeline, just don't love it anymore." And she completely stopped. She gave up baking, which was phenomenal for my waist, but she gave up baking for a little bit of time. And then she started baking again, but not for sales. And, every once in a while, a friend will call up and, "Can I get your coconut cake?" And she'll be like, "Look, it cost me $25 worth of supplies. Give me the $25. I'd love to bake it for you." So that's the type of thing, because she won't give out the family recipe. So
right.
It is what it is. So back to the whole thing. You did not you weren't the person actually doing the massages. You were the person who was benefiting from the massages. So I could see you still loving it. Did you ever turn something that you were actively involved in to a money-making thing? And did you still love it once you did that?
That's actually a great question. And no, I really can't think of anything that I don't know, maybe real estate. I for a while there, I loved real estate. I loved going to open houses and this and that. And I started a pretty substantial real estate office where I did mainly commercial, but with part of my commercial, I had to do residential. And after a while, I really didn't like it after a while.
Yeah. And that's what it gets. So, one of my hobbies and one of the things I love doing is, going out in the garden. But I think I would be stressed if I had to start growing, like peppers and spices and all of that, and had to meet criteria and meet
demands. Yeah.
What would happen? Like I thankfully, most of the coffee that I roast, I don't grow. I order it from a supply house, or I get it from wherever, and I roast it and ship it and do all of that. But, if I were just relying upon my couple of coffee bushes, I'd be in a lot of trouble, because the beans aren't coming out great this year.
That's amazing, though. That's really cool. Good for you, though. That's really cool.
It's so much fun. And beans are yummy. And then I collect the beans, but I don't have enough right now, as I sit here. I don't have enough probably to even make one cup of coffee from homegrown. But thankfully, I get it shipped from New York, and they send it in. And I just got a batch from Kenya. I have a batch from Ethiopia, and I have a batch from Mexico. And I'm just brewing them all up. It's great.
Wow. What's kind of funny that we're talking about coffee this morning is I still have a place in Boca, but my fiance and myself, we just got a place up in I'm up here in Palm Beach Gardens. So we have to split up the appliances and everything. And normally I just do the Keurig. I just get the Publix coffee, 1, 2, 3. So this morning, for the first time, probably since COVID time, I used my grind and brew with beans. I forgot about how much better it is. It really is like amazingly better.
Well, what I'm going to do, and I offer this to listeners all the time, when we're off, I'm going to get where you want me to ship you those coffee beans, and I'm going to ship you a batch, whole bean, because you have your own grinder. And the next time I have you on the show, or the next time I'm on your show, we're going to talk about how delicious or how I could change it. My wife did say that this newest batch that came from Kenya is a little bit weaker. It's not as flavorful, but hey, I'll work around it.
Okay. So what's funny is so you and I have a little, how do I say this? A little special advantage that some people don't have, because normally somebody would offer something like that, and the first reaction is, "Oh no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that." Right? But when somebody says that to me, when you said that, I want, I would like that coffee, and I'd love to take you up on it. And what it was is, our common thread from the beginning taught me long ago. I don't know if she ever taught you this, was when someone gives you a gift, accept it.
Yeah.
And that has Jason, that has served me so well over the years, and it's like, again, somebody, if I offer something, if I were to offer you something, I want you to have it, and it's like, and people go, oh no, I couldn't. Yeah, you could. That's why I'm offering. I want you to have this.
Why would I offer? If I didn't want to send it to you, I would have just kept my mouth shut and I would have said, hey, next time we see you, we'll talk about coffee. No, I enjoy giving. That's part of me. That's part of my personality. If I said to you, Mark, I want to send you coffee, short of, look, I don't drink coffee, so don't bother. Short of that, that's what I want to do. I want you. But what I need to do is when someone says, hey, Jason, like you were kind enough. Hey, Jason, come on my show. I really wanted to do it, but I kind of felt like, he's doing me a favor and I don't like that. So a lot of times as someone who likes to give, it's hard to accept or to take.
Sure.
And you are correct.
Sure.
Because why should I deprive you of your wanting to give me something? If I said to you, Mark, I'm sending you coffee. Nah, I don't want your coffee. I like my public stuff. Okay, that's good. But I would be like a little disappointed because I really wanted to give it to you. And to be honest, I'd send it to you anyway. And if you didn't give me your home address, I'd go past the studio and just drop it off one day.
Right. So, or go back to the stalking days or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
We have that restraining order, the judge was pretty strict. So I'm going to listen to it.
Right. And I guess there's no attorney or guest client privilege at this point or whatever. You said that at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
So maybe we got to be careful.
Yeah. So I got to be careful. And, I don't want to give legal advice, but, listen to restraining orders. That's the only thing I'm going to say. Yeah.
That's one you probably couldn't get in trouble for, right?
Yeah. That's generic. It's just in general. The court tells you to do something. Usually you want to listen. I use that line a lot, like, look, I've been married for 24 plus years, so I do know how to listen.
What?
Exactly.
So I've been married twice for 4 years. So yeah,
twice. So
I don't listen as well as you do, right?
Yeah. Well,
there you go.
So it's always an adventure, right?
Oh yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So you talked about sports. You talked about the Dolphins. Have you had any celebrities on your podcast shows?
Yeah, actually, we've had a few.
I know. I know I'm one, but
right.
We've had not little guys.
We've had Jason Weiss. We've had Ask Jason and you. That's 3 right there. Then we've had my very first podcast was with Muhammad Ali's former wife. They call her Mama Ali. As a matter of fact, I just spoke to her yesterday. I had Tony Orlando on. We've had a couple of Miami Heat basketball players on. Who else? We have a lot of I guess there was, I don't know the different UFC fighters, and I probably should, but we've had a few UFC fighters on. And then
UFC fighters are they can tell you stories. I used to work with a handful of them, and boy, the stories they could tell, when they remember them, because a lot of times they get hit in the head so many times that that they can't remember things. Yeah, that's a shout out to you, Pat. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, one of my first hearings as an attorney was in front of the Florida Professional Boxing Association. And my client, who's a good friend of mine, lost the fight because they scored illegal blows to the back of his head as legal shots. And I walked through the whole thing. It was like Catch Me If You Can, where Leonardo DiCaprio walks, the judge through it. It was like, Your Honor, hit number 1, back of the head, scored 1 point for the other guy. Should have been a deduction. Hit number 2, same thing. Hit number 3, fight should have been over. My guy should have won. But that's not good enough. Hits 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had like 30 something hits to the back of the head.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I didn't know
that. And we won. And, now my client is a little screwy in the head. Yes, Pat, I'm calling you screwy in the head. And beyond successful and in the financial and teaching and trading. And so I look at it this way: we got him the belt, he was able to retire, and then he could go use his brain differently.
Wow, that's amazing. I never knew until just now that you could challenge the results of a fight. I never knew that.
Yeah, we did it because of illegal blows to the back of the head, and it was so much. It was such an eye-opening experience. It was so much fun, and that's where I got some of my passion back at that point in time to go, to stay in law, because the passion comes and goes, unfortunately, and but I'm 24 years plus into it.
Sure, right. I guess like anything, I guess there's always like ebbs and flows, and when you have like victories in life or this or that, it reinforces why you got into it in the first place.
So your favorite podcast episode of one of your shows? Give me a 30-second summary of it, not the one with me.
Okay, you stopped me there.
Yeah, exactly.
I was lucky enough to have Tony Orlando, and guy's just a wonderful, warm, sweet guy, and his best friend was on, who's very quiet and shy, and didn't want to come on the show because he was so shy. And I convinced him to go on. He had a phenomenal time. But normally my podcasts are about a half hour, maybe 40 minutes, just like this show. We were an hour and 17 minutes, and I loved every second of it. And my mother passed away, but I came home that day, and I sometimes I talked to a picture of her, and I told her all about it, and because I know she would have just loved it. She would have loved being there.
Now, did Tony sing on the show?
A little bit. He did. Yeah. He did. He gave us a little.
And for some of the people that are a little bit younger and don't know who Tony Orlando is, Tony Orlando was he's still alive, so a singer. I think he started singing in the 1960s, so he's a little bit older. And as far as I'm aware, I wish I was Googling it. I don't have that here, but I'm pretty sure he's still touring. If I'm not incorrect,
he's 79 years old. It's and his
touring, right?
He's going to retire when he turns 80. He had his own variety show, like a #1 show for a while, and he had like a few Grammy awards, and just the real showman, just a real warm. It's one of these guys where after the show we were probably talking for another hour and a half, and we're just sitting on the couch at the podcast studio, and he's literally just holding my hand. Just a warm, wonderful guy.
Yeah. So we're almost done. So usually what I do is I throw out, the toughest question. I save it for last. So let's see, what can we pull out? You get to go to any sporting event in the United States, and you get to bring one guest with you.
I am going to go to the Super Bowl and take Kelly, my fiance.
Wow, that is. I give you props. Who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl? The Dolphins and
the other team.
Okay, good. Yeah, and the Dolphins will win to make you all happy.
Yeah, and I think San Francisco. I think this is their year.
San Francisco plays the Giants tonight, and as long as they wipe the floor with them, huge Giants fan. I think San Francisco could be a major force. I mean, they're a good team. Christian McCaffrey's there, and they got that guy at quarterback, and they got that big wide receiver, and they got Deebo Samuelson. So they got a nice little team there.
And don't forget, they got Nick Bosa too, who
yes,
I'm good friends with Nick and Joey's mom, and
they're from South Florida.
Yeah, they went to St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yes. Yeah. And St. Thomas Aquinas is the big rival of my son's school for lacrosse. For football, St. Thomas Aquinas, I give them props. For lacrosse, can't give them props because we got to go against them.
The heck with them, right? Yeah.
No, phenomenal team. Know a lot of the young men that are on that team. My son's played with them for his entire life, and just great. So if anybody is interested in learning more about a Massage Envy, reach out to Papa Sturms. If anybody is interested in Boca Business, reach out to Papa Sturms. If anybody is interested in their own podcast, reach out to Mark so that he could tell you about Podcast Junkies. And if you're in the Boca Raton area, right across from Chops and Lemongrass, go on in, check out the Podcast Junkies. Really cool studio. They're doing some phenomenal stuff there. And if you're interested in franchising, also reach out to Mark. Podcast Junkies, JUNKEEZ.com. Mark, a pleasure. Congratulations on everything. I'm so excited. And now you have to text me where to send those coffee beans because they're going to be coming.
As soon as we hang up, I'm
cool.
I'm accepting your gift. Okay.
Awesome. That made me happy. So everybody, thank you, Mark, for being here. Cece, who's running the show in the back, and the goingsolomedia.com. Thank you for everything. Mark, don't go away. But our listeners, thank you for being here. If you need me, it's askjasonweiss.com. You can always email me at jason@jswlawyer.com. Thank you so much. And everyone have a phenomenal rest of the day.